Hi, this is Chris with Rekkid Talk, CRT, and today we are going to do 5 records in 5 minutes, and the theme is Tim. So it's going to be all about Tims, and let's get into the best Tim by the Replacements. So some of you might be aware of the fact that this album was recently like remastered, reissued. There's like the Ed Stasium mix that's out there. This record is not from that. This record is from the 2009 Rhino reissue. And I know one of the complaints about the Tim album traditionally was that it wasn't mastered very well. And the new one that's out, which I've actually listened to streaming in my car, and it's one of those situations. I'm not usually like a big A/B comparison guy, but the reissue I thought definitely did beat the new one. I haven't gone out. I don't want to buy like a full box set. I would like it if they would just release the album. Of course, you got some great songs. Kiss Me on the Bus, Waitress in the Sky, which sounds like Paul is anti-flight attendant, but it was actually based on stories that his older sister, who was a flight attendant, told him about the way assholes behaved on the plane. Bastards of Young, Left of the Dial, Here Comes a Regular. If I was going to redo my rankings albums, this might get up higher. It might make it to number one. It might not, but I've definitely been more of a Tim fan recently. So let's talk about some other Tims in music. So In Excess, they have Tim Ferriss. Okay, well, I mean, he was the guitar player, one of the Ferris brothers. But of course, he didn't actually go by Tim. He just went by one Tim. He wasn't like Gary Beers, the bass player, who went by two Garys instead of one. One of the Garys had an extra R. So you could be like Tim, and your second Tim could have like two M's in it. But anyway, we of course like In Excess. I tend to be partial to Listen Like Thieves, which is why I chose to show it. Another Tim is Tim Burgess from the Charlatans UK. So you can see I only have it on CD. This is their album Some Friendly. That was probably 1990 is the year. So this is like full on baggy Manchester sort of music. And Tim Burgess more recently, before I quit Twitter, did quit Twitter, X, whatever it's called nowadays, at some point. But Tim Burgess was hosting a thing every day where they would do like a virtual listening party. So everybody would start listening to the record at a certain time and then comment about it as you went through the album. And sometimes they would have the artist on as well to chat about it, which was a pretty cool thing to do. And I have a couple of Tim related singles. So Stacks back in 1972. So this was like sort of the post we got screwed over by Atlantic Records version of Stack. So we had Mel and Tim, who were a pair of cousins. One of their bigger songs was this song called Starting All Over, which was a hit back in 1972. Wasn't recorded at the Stack Studios. This one was actually recorded at Muscle Shoals. And then the final Tim record, of course, if you're going to talk about Tim in popular music, you can't avoid the biggest Tim of all, Tiny Tim. And so despite his name, it turns out that Tiny Tim wasn't really tiny. He was actually a fairly big guy, and his name wasn't Tim at all. His name was Herbert. So this is a reissue of Tiptoe Through the Tulips. And I have no idea why this song was so popular. He was on Tiny Tim used to appear on like the Tonight Show and Laugh-In, and it was a lot of this weird late 1960s stuff that I guess I'm a little bit too young to understand. But then this reissue actually has a song by Dante and the Evergreens called Alley Oop on the other side, which I think has nothing to do at all with Tim.